Okay, we've been looking at BODS, which is an ETL tool to extract data from different sources and place it into HANA bus. We were using Cubex 7 and Cubex 7 was our repository. So the password what I give for the repository is the database password. So that it gets connected to database also. The front-end BODS will get connected to the back-end database so that anything you do, it starts updating into the repository tables. So we have seen simple demo on how to extract data from flat file and load into HANA and leveraging HANA as a source and target also. Okay. Now I have a different requirement. I have an SAP ECC system, which is part of my business suite, and I would like to extract data from ECC and load into HANA using BODS. This is the ECC system what I've got. So ECC is my source and HANA is my target. I would like to extract data from ECC and load into HANA by leveraging BODS. We know we could do that with SLT or DXC, but even through BODS, you can leverage it to extract from ECC and load into HANA. That's the point of focus. So this is my ECC server. If you see, this is a server name and instance number is 71 and system ID is EHP. And when I'm connecting to ECC, I'm pretty much in ECC you can have multiple active clients, but I'm working on 800 and the user ID what I've got is Cubex. You could attach Cubex. Welcome 123 is my password. Okay. So if you need to do this, so let me create a project. Cubex 7 project 03 ECC to HANA. Okay, and I'm going to create a job. That's my job name. So within the job, we're going to have what? The data flow. Okay. We get inside the data flow. Then I would like to formulate we need to formulate the data flow. So the data flow would have source object, target object, and any kind of transformations you want as part of BODS. So when I need to access ECC, do I need to create a connection towards that? Like when we wanted to access HANA, we created a connection. What is that connection we refer in BODS as? Datastore. So now I need to create a datastore which will connect to what? ECC. Then from ECC, I'll access my source object. Okay. So I'll get into this tab for data stores. Right click. What else? New. So I'll say again Cubex 7 DS ECC is my source. This is just the connection name. Okay. Now, so you're creating a data store to connect to certain application, certain software. So the software what you're trying to connect could be a database, or it could be a SAP application, or it could be BW, CBIL, or whatever. Which one is mine? I'll say a SAP application. Then class me the server name. In the login pad we have it BW74 EHP 7 BW and username. Okay, and then in advanced, you would specify the client what you're trying to get connected. Client is what? 800, and the system number is 70. After you specify all this, if you say apply, if there's any error, it should throw me in now. If it doesn't throw me an error when I say apply, means the connection is fine. So done. So my ECC connection is available. See what when I created a connection to HANA, when I expand this connection, it shows me what kind of metadata can I use. I can use the tables or functions or what template tables. Same way, once I get connected to ECC, when I expand this, it tells me what kind of objects can I use them. From ECC, what type of source objects can I consume or a target? What is mine? I can use my database objects, database tables. When I say ODP objects, ODP data sources which are enabled for ODP, operational data provisioning. Okay, only ODP data sources. Or I can also use IDOCs or hierarchies or function models or functions. Anything can be leveraged as a source. At Oxer ECC connector from ECC, I can consume table or IDOC or ODP data sources or hierarchies or functions. Majorly, you'll have ODP, you'll have table and IDOCs. They include majorly ODP and tables is what you use, and IDOCs also very rare because IDOCs is generally used. Now, can BODS do scheduling in real time also? See, when you right click and you can say batch job or real time. If it is IDOC, you can do that in real times. So normally in ECC, when they do some posting, you can capture some IDOC and extract data through that IDOC. So that will be more of real time. But when you use ODP or tables, it is normal batch mode. Okay, boss. So I would let first example. I would let read from a table and then place into HANA database. So we have the table Z sales. Same. I just want to take the same table and load in. Right click on this. So should I import the table first? I can either import by name if you just know on table, or what I can do. I can just double click on this. It shows me all the tables, and then you can right click and import. I'll time buttons. I'll import by name. Right click. Import by name. I'll say what? Z sales is my table. See if it is done. I have this. This is the Z sales table from ECC. Good. And I'll drag this into my data flow, which will be referred as a source. And I would like to have the template table into what? I would like to push that into what? HANA. So I don't have the table yet created in HANA. So can I use the template table concepts which creates a table automatically into BOD HANA? So here I can say, what is this here? Template table, or I can open this HANA connection. I already have HANA connection. I can say template table and then drag this template. Anyway, you can drag. So it asks me now dragging template table. What table do you want? I want the table name as what? Z sales. You remember the schema, owner is nothing but schema in which it will connect to HANA with system user. But I want this table to be created with what? In which schema? Cubics 7. I don't need any transformations. So straight away what I can do, I can just say connect this. That's it. And if you see this, since it is template table based on the fields what I have in my target, it actually takes the fields into source and target automatically mapped. But only thing is, that template table is fine now. And so can run this job now. Right click and say what? Execute. So job is completed successfully. Now in HANA, if I get in to BODS, I should see the table created as Z sales and fill with the data. Okay, boss. And once the data flow has been executed with template table, now the physical table is available. Now I can't just run the same way, because when I run the same job again, it tries to create the table. It says table is already there and job fails. From next data flow onwards, it has to refer to the physical table what is already created now. Z cell. So what I'll do, I'll say right click. Yeah, I can't do it. This indicates template. Right click and say what? Import table. Now it starts changing. It starts using physical table. Now once I have physical table, if I run my load, if I run my job again it tries to extract the same data, all data, and then tries to put, it says duplicate database. So I want to, there's no delta mechanism here. I would like to drop and what? Reload. Bulk load. I'll say what? Unselect this options. I'll say what? After you import that as physical table, you'll have this option. Delete data from table before loading. So even if I run this job n number of times, I will have no issues. Why? Because it will always drop and reload. So job is completed. So you'll still have the same set of database. You will have delta. Now you're saying there's no delta concept in like BW. Since it is stable, there is no delta concept. But if I use ODP object, which is a data source, I can still, because even in BW, only for data, when you're working with data source, you'll have the concept of delta, because delta mechanism is defined as part of data source. Yes or no? So even here, when I use the data source as a source from ECC, I'll have delta mechanism. I'll show you. So it drops and reloads it. But the concept is so this is clear, right? So I've copied this data flow into this. So I've got my source table and the target table. For target table, you said drop and delete, right? I don't do that. What I want is it should extract data from source, do the comparison with the target table, and if there's any differences, let it do those changes. That's all. I don't. He's saying there's no delta, right? We're trying to simulate the delta mechanism. You get what I'm saying? It's not about dropping and reloading entire data. Aim changes to the. So then we can use something called table comparison. There are some set of transformations which are delivered as part of BODs. One of them is if I go to transformations. What is? Look at this. It says hint is compares two data sets and produces a difference between them as a data set with rows flagged as insert, update, or delete. Okay. So I'll say table comparison. Okay. And then I'll connect the source to this transformation. Double click on this, and now it says, now this is my source table. A table compare to which table should I compare? ఏ టేబుల్లో హనాలో ఉన్న Z sales table. Okay, and what is the key column? Comparison మొత్తం తెలుసు. Key column can be used to compare. What is the key column of it? VBL. Now I said row by row comparisons. There will be different comparison. It has to compare row by row, and what are the differences? It has to handle it. Okay, was fine. And then connect this comparison to what? This table. Okay. Now, did I select saying delete and reload? No. So it does do the comparisons and perform those changes. That's all. Okay. So to make this effective, what I'll do, I'll say save all. I log into ECC. This 11. Okay, I'm going to do some changes. I'm going to change this document number 55. Sorry, 5 as 9955 something. You modified one, updated one record 55. Sir, max number and what is it? 74, right? I'll say what? 75 and some date 75 something. I know. So what you've done? You inserted one record. You updated one record. Sorry, you updated one record. You have inserted one record. And let me delete this record number 20. Okay, boss. Done. Okay. Now let's run this. Now, as of see, if you want to see what is the data as of now, ikkada చూడొచ్చు. You can get into VODs. ఇక్కడ source table ఏముంది, records and what is 9955 target ఏముంది ఇక్కడే చూడొచ్చు. You can target అంటే you're actually seeing content of table from in what HANA. Already connection ఉంది కాబట్టి it connects to HANA, reads the table and shows it to you. It is as good as going into HANA and reading that. ఇక్కడ టేబుల్ కంటెంట్ చూసినా ఒకటి, అక్కడ చూసినా ఒకటి. ఇప్పుడు ఇంకా ఏముంది, ఇక్కడ 55 ఉంది, కొత్త రికార్డ్ ఏంది 75 లేదు, అండ్ రికార్డ్ నెంబర్ 20 ఇంకా ఉంది. ఓకే, సేమ్ ఇక్కడ చూడొచ్చు, అది 20 కనిపిస్తుంది, 5కి ఇంకా 55 అనే ఉంది, 75 రికార్డ్ లేదు, కానీ ఇక్కడ 75 రికార్డ్ కనిపిస్తుంది. ఓకేనన్నా, డన్. So I'll run this job now. Which one? This is table comparison 1. Right click and execute. And there are. Once again, so requires optional primary key to be set. చెప్పినాం కదా. Get data flow. Detect deleted rows from comparison table. This is problems in level. So row by row comparison. Now I need to specify this. What is my input primary key column? VBL, and comparisons must be done on all these columns. Input primary key, but comparison every row by row check, column by column అన్ని check చేయాలి. Now fine. Now let's run this job. See, the generate key column must be data type match కావడం కదా. అదే ఇంటీజరే ఉండాలంట. What I'll do, from HANA, I'll import one more table. What is it? Z sales 1, because I want it with integer. Okay. Cubex 7 BODS. Sales, I'll use this one. Sorry. Z sales 1 and V value is primary key. Okay. Fine. Conversion will be used to convert. ఇక్కడ వారికేర్ ఉంది, అది ఇంటీజర్ ఉందంటాను. So I can try to convert it here itself. I can see there's one transformation called query transform. We use it very frequently. You have transform called query, which is frequently used. You can do pretty much of any type of querying. Okay, just I'll bring this in. Connect this into querying. Here I will say add all the target fields. What can't we edit the properties? I'll make that as integer. So I'll connect. Okay, just to make that as integer. So now I'll get in this. Now say compare. Now no issues. Now connect this to this target. But actually the new table what you created, was what? But as of now, the new table what you create is blank. If you see, blank one actually. First, let's load again. We'll do changes. Okay, but what I'll do, I'll go to ECC. Now I'll again have to do changes for you to really reflect those. 10 March. Then 13 ఎత్తేస్తా. Then 40 కొత్తది వేయాలి కదా. So 76 is new one. Okay, now let's run this job again. Anyhow, I have a physical table, right? So I can run the job multiple times. Now, if you see the log, job log చూస్తే నీకు చెప్తుంది 62 records ఇవన్నీ సరే, but if you look at merging and how many records have been reflected here, so one and there's only 2-3 records have been handled. Okay, అంటే ఒక స్టేజ్ లో ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళి comparison of 1 record 2 records is fine, but if you get into this HANA and then if you see this table sales 1, 7 sorry not 7, 10 ఎత్తేసినాము, 10 ఎత్తేసినాం and then 10 ముందు ఎత్తేసిండేది ఇప్పుడు కాదు. with 20 was removed and in the modify the చేసినాం 40 was modified నాకు గుర్తులేదన్న what and 10 we modified it okay sir అది ఏదో చేసినాం 10 is modified so it comes here 76 was added you get this so delete చేసింది వెళ్ళిపోయింది 20 was gone actually 10 we modified 20 we deleted so then 76 was new so it brings in those changes like this we can use some transformations in BODs like this. So is it more like a delta mechanism? But source is not supporting, but within BODs we are leveraging some transformations and making sure only the changes are sent to the target table. Okay. Inka suppose sometimes you might have a requirement like this. Say, in the source I have 5 tables, and you load all those 5. Now let's say there are some changes done. Let's say you change some record. But what I want is every change you do in the source should be reflected as a new record into my target table. If you use table comparison, what happens? If I do a change in the source, it will do the same change in my target also. That is not requirement. Every change record must be added as a new record because I would like to preserve all the history of all the changes. Like time dependent change, anni pettukovali. Then you see there is another transformation called there's something called what history preserving and go transformation. If I use this transformation of history preserving, even there is a change of my existing record in the source, it will add as a new record into my target. If you're adding as a new record, should I generate a new primary key? Let's say primary key values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the fourth record has been modified. The modified fourth record should add as what? Record number 6. So should I generate one primary key for it? So I use the transformations like history preserving and there's something called what? What is this? Key generation, which will generate the primary key for it. It will find the max value of the table and then plus 1 will be the key. Atla. We can use some transformation like history preserving and key generation to have the changes been added as a new record also. Okay, boss. Max, how many tables we can connect? And the max level anta knowledge ledu, but I think pretty much source I can use some 10, 12, 15. We can use tables, join them. We can do lots of stuff. And even we can read data from one table, get one more table, do lookup. Those kind of also things also can be done. నేను ఇంకా చాలా బేసిక్ లేదు నాకు అంత ఐఎమ్ నాట్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్ హియర్ ఓకే సో కెన్ యూ డూ ఇట్ for 3 to 4 yeah I can do no problem. See, even if you can't do in one data flow, I can create 4 data flows, each data flow feeding one table. And even with single data flow, the source can be one and you can feed it to 4 tables, no problem. Say your table has got data for all the 4 regions, but in HANA you're actually populating each table with different region. So one table will be source and you will basically filter it to 4 different tables also possible. Yeah. Creating 3 to 4 ECC, you can do this. Then you have to use what? Joining. That's it. You're saying source has got 3 to 4 tables and put it to a single table in HANA, you have to use what? Join or union. That's a great new job. Job ECC. ODP to HANA.
History preserving that record delete చేస్తుంది
అంతే బేసిక్ హిస్టరీ ప్రిజర్వింగ్ విల్ నాట్ డు delete that. Delete అయితే delete అంతే నీ దగ్గర delete కాదు ఓన్లీ చేంజ్ అయినవి మాత్రం కొత్తగా యాడ్ అవుతుంటాయి నువ్వు చెప్పొచ్చు దానికి అంటే అప్డేట్ గా ఇన్సర్ట్ చేయాలా అప్డేట్ చేయాలా ఎట్లా యూ కెన్ హ్యాండిల్ దట్ ఓకే సో ఐ వాంట్ న్యూ డేటా ఫ్లో అగైన్ ODP data source to So I would like now the second case, I would like to extract data from ECC by leveraging ODP data source which is enabled for ODP. Now if you go to ODP, your normal data sources which will be enabled for ODP concept, operational data provisioning. Okay, what is this ODP concept? We had normal data source we have been extracting it to BW. Okay, boss. Even a concept, let's say I've got data source in ECC. Let's say the same data source you're leveraging it for BW extraction, and I would like to use the same data source for BODS also. Getting this? That is not possible for normal data source. For ODP data source, you can have multiple subscribers. When I say multiple subscribers, the same data source can be consumed by BW, same data source can be consumed by BODS and any source. Multiple subscriptions are possible for single data. That is ODP concept. Yeah? Even the standard data source, what is delivered by SAP, now they can draw a lot of ODP content. At a ముందున్న data source అన్నింటికి ODP ఇచ్చినాడు, ఇంకా కొన్ని ఇవ్వలేదు. If you go to SC level, you'll have a table called rules ADTR. You'll have a table called rules ADTR. This table will have a list of ODP data sources which are supported by SAP. ఎన్ని ఉన్నాయి? 244 ఉన్నాయి బాస్. ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. చూడు 2 LIS 11 అది కూడా ఉంటాయి. ఇది చూడు, నాకు ఇక్కడ ఎన్ని ఉన్నాయి బాస్? 2 ఉన్నాయి. పర్చేస్ హెడర్ ఐటమ్ అంటే నా సపోర్ట్ ప్యాక్ లో నువ్వు రియల్ టైమ్ వాడు ఏం చేసినాడు, ఒక్కొక్క సపోర్ట్ ప్యాక్ లో కొన్ని ఇచ్చినాడు, రిలీజ్ దెమ్ ఫర్ ఓడిపి. సో ఇఫ్ యూ గెట్ ది లేటెస్ట్ సపోర్ట్ ప్యాక్ యూ హ్యావ్ మోర్ డేటా సోర్సెస్ విచ్ ఆర్ రిలీజ్డ్ ఫర్ ఓడిపి. So only the data source which is been listed in this table, rows ADTR, are the ones which are supported for ODP. Otherwise, no. Okay, Nana, done. You know about standard. In a standard what is RSFI, you'll install, then start using it. And ready-made ODP content to just RSFI install. LO in RSFI, LBW customize just normal. So, but what I want is I would like to create my own generic extract, enable it for ODP, then use it for extracting data into HANA database. అది కాదు ఒకసారి I'll go to RSO2. It's a create sales and I'll go with what? Z sales. I also want to enable delta for it. With what? Numeric pointer. And so save. And based on the document number బట్టి డెల్టా కొత్త రికార్డా కాదా కనుక్కుంటుంది. So this is my data source. Now if I go to my SC level, just check, you get to see my data source here. It is not enabled as ODP. So I've built my own custom extractor. Now I would like to enable it for ODP. So go to SC38 or ODPS expose. You'll have a program called ODPS_OS_expose. This is a program where you set the data source as ODP objects. If there is standard, so standard నువ్వేం చేయలేవు. Standard you have to wait for SAP to give in for the support pack. But if it is generic extractor you have built in and you would like to expose that as ODP, I can use this program. Or ODPS_OS. నువ్వు స్టాండర్డ్ తెచ్చి వాడితే కుదరదు అన్నట్టు. స్టాండర్డ్ వాడి తెలిసింది మనం చేసేకి ఏం లేదు. Or ODPS_OS_expose. Okay, na boss? Then what do you say? ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ ఏమడుగుతుంది డేటా సోర్స్ పేరు దెన్ వాట్ ఇస్ రిలీజ్ అంటే స్టార్ట్ అయితే అదే చెప్తా ఉంటుందండి ఓకే ఎస్ ఏదో ఒకటి so my ODP data source been exposed ante now if I go to my table rows edit here you should see my data source now which says exposed. With this program you expose the data source as ODP object. Okay, for normal data source in BW when you're working with BW, once you create a data source, before replicating and loading into BW, you test that data source, right? Where do you do that? ECC learn ikkada RSA3 use extract checker to see whether my data source is able to extract data or not, right? Same way for ODP you have another program to check that. SC38 RODPS REPL RODPS underscore REPL underscore test is the program which we use it for testing whether my ODP data source is able to extract same almost like RSA3. మన డేటా సోర్స్ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తున్న డేటాని లేదా అని చెక్ చేసుకో ఏం ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉన్నాయా అని చెక్ చేయొచ్చు. Drop down mine is what data source without what ESH modeling. What is my data source? Extract full కొట్టు ఏం కాదు. Execute. So it is able to extract the table is the ultimate source. It is able to extract it. So my ODP data source is fine. But RSA3 ఎట్లా కంటెంట్ చూడొచ్చు అంటే టెస్ట్ చేయొచ్చు అన్నమాట. So now since it is fine, now I can start using that in my BODS as a source of it. Is it enabled for Delta? Yes. In BW, if it is enabled for Delta, what do you do? First init, then Delta. It could ante. First load, I will treat that as init, and next onwards, I will treat that as Delta. So I'll expand my ECC connection. Now, which object is it? ODP, but table kaadu, ODP object. Right click ODP object and say what? Import by name. What is my name? YODP BODS cubex 7. Next. It says just name of consumer istundi. I can say no, you can treat this as info package. Mana BW it's like more like info. In info package, can you give selections? Where field is where currency is equal to INR atla no select data selections ichukunta atla selections kavalsi vastayi. If you change data capturing nothing but capturing the delta records only for records where my currency is equal to INR ante only selections nagatta selections emavuddu I'll say query that. Okay, and name of the product is nothing but an info package name cheptanu. IP load ODP. Now is my ODP update imported was right? So I already have the data flow ready. I just want to use this, bring this out. Okay. If you double click on this, you get some properties. If you what is this? What is initial load? No alternate. What will I do? No alternate. Man estimate then it becomes initial load. From next onwards, like first time when you're loading it should be an init. From then onwards, it can be del. Okay. So my source update is ready. Next thing target target. Do we have some target table ready in HANA which can read which we can put data in? Layer. So either three different ways. One is you use a template table, or you explicitly log into HANA and create the table by using normal SQL create column table statement and create your table, then you use it. Or there's one more option, importing metadata and unko option. I can get to HANA database and say import metadata from ECC. Now you what I can do in BODS, I can basically import the metadata from ECC into HANA leveraging BODS. BODS వాడుకొని ECC metadata ని ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. whether it could be table or data source. చేసుకున్నప్పుడు automatically relevant table is created in HANA. So I want to do that way. You know about template table, you know about creating physical table, create statement and then using it, importing it, using it as target. Now I want to import with metadata. So how do you do this? This concept. What is it we're trying to do in the concept? I would like to import metadata into HANA. I would like to import metadata of ECC into HANA by leveraging BODS as the import server. BODS ని మిడిల్ లేయర్ లో వాడుకొని అంటే BODS ద్వారా డేటానే కాదు మెటాడేటాను కూడా ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు అనేది క్వశ్చన్ పాయింట్ అండి. It's BODS is just not about loading data. It can also be leveraged to import metadata from ECC into HANA. So I would like to import metadata of ECC into HANA leveraging BODS. Okay, na boss, fine. So how do I do this? I would say import. What is it? I can get import, say file nunchi import kellochu or file. What say quick view. When import kodtavu. What is that you want to import? Cheppu. ఇది మాస్ ఇంపోర్ట్ అంటే మొత్తం ఈ సీజన్ నుండి మొత్తం అన్ని టేబుల్స్ వచ్చేయడం కానీ అట్లాంటి చేయాలంటే అటు కొట్టొద్దు ఎత్తిపోతుంది. సెలెక్ట్ ఇంపోర్ట్ ఐ కెన్ చూస్ విచ్ టేబుల్ విచ్ డేటా సోర్స్ నాకు చూస్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. కొడితే వెళ్ళిపోతుంది, ఎర్రర్ రావాలి. వెళ్ళిపోతుందన్న వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. యాక్చువల్గా ఎర్రర్ రావాలి అంటే వెన్ ఐ సే డూ ఇంపోర్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ అనగానే ఎర్రర్ ఏం రావాలంటే ఐ డోంట్ నో ది బివుడ్ ఇంపోర్ట్ ప్లీజ్ కాన్ఫిగర్ ఇంపోర్ట్ సర్వర్ అనాలి. అంటే నేనేమంటున్నా ఇన్ హనా స్టూడియో ఐఎమ్ సేయింగ్ ఇంపోర్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ ఈసీసీ, ఇంపోర్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ సమ్ ఇంపోర్ట్ అన్నాను. ఫస్ట్ వెన్ ఇస్ ఇంపోర్ట్ ఇట్ షుడ్ సే విచ్ బిఓడిఎస్ సర్వర్ షుడ్ ఐ యూజ్ అని అడగలుగుతా అంతే కదా. What I'm doing is I'm importing metadata of ECC into HANA leveraging BODS. So before I go over to importing metadata, should I would configure the details of which BODS server should be used for imports as import server? It already changed it to nanduku error rale, but actually before you do that, what you should do is there's option. What is configure import server is an option through which you configure all the details of your BODS server which has to be leveraged for importing metadata. Configure import server. Next అంటాం ఏమడుగుతుంది ఏందనేది ఇది సర్వర్ నా BODS సర్వర్ గుర్తుందా? మీకు కన్ఫ్యూజన్ అంటే చూడు ఒకసారి ఏమేమి డీటెయిల్స్ ఇస్తున్నాడో చూడు. ఈ డేటా సర్వీస్ డిజైనర్కి లాగిన్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు ఒకసారి వస్తే మళ్ళీ కాదు రాదా, మళ్ళీ క్లోజ్ చేయలేము. సర్లేనా ఇది కరెక్ట్ అయినా కదా ఆల్రెడీ టూల్స్ అండ్ ఐ ట్రై టు గో టు మేనేజ్మెంట్ కన్సోల్. ఇక్కడ తెలుసుకుంది సర్వర్ ఏందన్నా, సర్వర్ పేరు ఏందన్నా BW74 EHP7. See, when you log into designer, port will be 640, అది పట్టించుకోవద్దు. This is the port. మన అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ కన్సోల్కి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు BW74 EHP7 and what is the port? ఇది డిఫాల్ట్ యాక్చువల్లీ 8080 కానీ మీ రియల్ టైం వేరే ఉండొచ్చు. Then what I've done, my server is this is the server name BW74 EHP7, my BODS server name, and what is this here? Port 8080. Within BODS, do we have configurations made in multiple repositories? దాంట్లో ఏ రెపాజిటరీ సంబంధించిన డీటెయిల్స్ వాడాలనుకున్నాం మంది ఇప్పుడు లేటెస్ట్ మనం ఇది మేము ముందు Cubex 7. So it has to connect to that BODS server Cubex 7 so and so. But once I start importing it, అంటే సార్ ఆ BODS server వాడుకుని ఇంపోర్ట్ చేయాలి. ఇంపోర్టింగ్ ఏ హనా సిస్టమ్కి చేయాలి? నాది SAP Cubex Instance 01. For that you need to create one DSN. This is not, I'll show you. Administrative tools. You'll have yes, in the BODS server is created a DSN with ODBC driver. So కాన్ఫిగర్ అంటే ఇక్కడ సర్వర్ SAP క్యూబిక్స్ 301 అంటే ఏంది? దట్ ఇస్ a DSM. ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. అంటే ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ఇట్ you can say system DSM global and add ఏమంటాం? I would like to add with which driver I'm going to use? HDB HANA database driver. Finish. ఇంకా DSN నేమ్ ఏదైనా ఇచ్చుకుని you give server. I can change my name also. Cubex 7 ODBs అని ఇచ్చిన. Which is the server you want to connect? SAP Cubex 30115. Yes, connect. System. Okay. So I'll use this. Okay. At least you have to create a in BODS server. You have to create DSL. ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే with the help of this configuration, it knows to which BODS server it has to connect. Once it connects for importing, it has to import into what? అంటే BODS ద్వారా concentrate now. With based on BODS, it starts importing into HANA, and it creates a table in HANA database. So once if it has to create table in HANA, it should know the connection to the BODS should have a database connection to HANA so that it can create the tables. We are configuring BODS server as an import server. So BODS will import metadata. Based on the metadata, it has to create a table in HANA. Table చేయాలంటే BODS కి HANA కి database connection ఉండాలి. ఆ database connection నేను చెప్తాను. Got this point? ఇది మన పేరు పెడతా. ఏదైనా పెట్టుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే అండ్ సే ఫినిష్. ఓకేనా? నా రిపాజిటరీ పెట్టుకున్నాను. ఇప్పుడు వాడల్ నా కెన్ గో విత్ వాట్? ఇప్పుడు ఇంపోర్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. ఇంపోర్ట్ వాట్ ఇస్ దట్ యూ వాంట్ టు ఇంపోర్ట్? Select import of metadata. Make sure HANA content. Okay. Select import of metadata. Next. Select your system and say next. You should tell me now. Select source system connection. Cubex 7 DS ECs what was it? BODS లో మనం చేసిన డేటా స్టోర్ ECC డేటా స్టోర్ కనెక్షన్. Within BODS, inside this Cubex 7 repository, this was a data store connection what we created towards ECC. Multiple ఉంటే అడుగుతుంది. It's a drop down box. You can choose which connection you want. సరే ఈ డేటా స్టోర్ కనెక్షన్ వాడుకొని what is it you want to import? Do you want to import a table or extractor? I can import table or ODP, anything it is. Table అంటే table definition create అవుతుంది. VBAC అనుకో VBAC table create అవుతుంది. Extractor అంటే data source definition. Mine is what? Extractors. And say next. Now it is clear. Now it's fine. Okay. So now when you see this extracted, by application BW root దీంట్లో ఏందన్న మంది SAP applications దాంట్లో సేల్స్ అండ్ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్ ఒక సెర్చ్ కొట్టినా కూడా అయిపోయేది. బట్ నాకు ఐ వాంట్ BW ఎలా చూసావు అలా సిమ్యులేట్ చేయాలని వెళ్తున్నాను అంతే. ఓకే అంతేందన్నా ఇదేనా? సెలెక్ట్ దిస్ అండ్ సేవ్ యాడ్. ఇంకా స్కీమ్ అడుగుతుంది. వాట్ ఈస్ మై స్కీమ్? Cubex 7 BODS ప్యాకేజ్ ఏదైతే ప్యాకేజ్ 7 Cubex 7 ఓకే ప్యాకేజ్ ఏం సంబంధం లేదు. బట్ వెన్ ఐ సే నెక్స్ట్ ఓకే సో ఈ సోర్స్ ని బట్టి ఇట్ ఇస్ క్రియేటింగ్ దిస్ టేబుల్. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ ఒక చిన్న బగ్ వస్తుంది, చూడండి. What is prime? It based on the definition of the ODP data, it is decided VPN is going to be primary key. Fine, అది బానే ఉంది. Good, nullable true అని ఉంది. Can primary key, when the key is set as primary, can you set that as nullable? అదొకటి ఇప్పుడు వ్యాలిడేట్ అంటే ఫెయిల్ అవుతుంది, వ్యాలిడేట్ అంటే ఎర్రర్ వస్తుంది. ఏమంటారు, ప్రైమరీ కీ కెనాట్ బి సెట్ యాజ్ నల్. అప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తుంది దీన్ని, ఇది సోర్స్, టార్గెట్లో ఇది అనల్ ఎట్లా క్రియేట్ కావాలి, అనల్ ఇట్లా క్రియేట్ అయితే ప్రపోజ్ చేస్తుంది, ప్రాబ్లం ఉంది. సో ఐఎమ్ సెట్ ఇట్ as what, false. Now validate. Now it's all fine. And say what, next. Finish. ఇప్పుడు నా స్కీమాలో ఒక టేబుల్ క్రియేట్ కావాలి విత్ ద డెఫినేషన్ ఆఫ్ ద డేటా సోర్స్. సేమ్ ఆ డేటా సోర్స్ పేరుతో ఒక టేబుల్ క్రియేట్ అయిందన్న, ఓపెన్ డెఫినేషన్. ఓకేనన్నా, దీన్ని వాడుకుందా, we would use this table as what, target. Now which one, HANA, replicate that table, import by name, a schema in the bus, QX 7 BODS. Antanana, right? And we'll make that as what, target. Okay, structures are same, and then I'll say what, only, right? Name delete before loading atlem petledu. Okay, save all. So I want to run this job now. So is this like init load first? Because we said init load what? Yes. Okay. Let me run the init load. That's fine. But the question is, when we are running the init load, if it is normal BW extract mechanism, you run the init load. After running init load, you can start doing delta. Where do you see all the delta mechanisms, or delta, repeat delta images? Where do you see this? Delta Q, which is what? RSS. As soon as you run delta, it maintains a delta Q, and then you can see the status or the delta postings, delta records, requests, everything, right? The normal data source, ODP data source. If it is normal data source, delta processing is all maintained in delta Q. If it is ODP data source, delta processing is all handled in ODQ mon. ODQ mon. Now it's better now. If I'm speaking continuously also, you're able to hear me, right? There's no problem, or is there a problem? Sometimes it is breaking. So yeah, I'll speak slowly. Okay. Sir, why did not we use same data store? See, this cubic 7 DSN is a data store, not DSN. I need a DSN, data source name, which is connecting to that. Okay, that is a data source name is different. Data store is different. Data store is a connection within BODS environment. DSN is actually a data source name which is at the OS level. Okay. Okay. So as of before running init, I would like to go to ECC and see whether the delta Q is formal or not. What is mine? What is the delta Q? ODQ mon. We are importing the table with the data, only metadata. When I say metadata, there is data is not coming out, only the structure. You can see it's got structure, but if you see the content, no content, because why? We have not yet loaded. When you say config, you're importing selective import of metadata and then only definition, the structure, not the data. Okay. If you go to ODQ1, do you see your data source? Why ODP something? And then QX7 unda? Ledante why? Why you don't find it yet? We have not yet run init. So let me run this job, which is going to trigger an init load, and will load all the records from the table. Job is completed. Any records తెచ్చిందన్న? 62 records, all those records. Good. Next nunchi, will you prefer init or delta? ఇప్పుడు init next time పెడతా. No init అంటే ఇంకా delta అన్నట్టు అంతే. ఓకేనా boss? But before I run delta, let me do some changes in the source. Since you run init already, put delta కి నీ data source చూడండి. First delta ఒకటి రన్ చేస్తే ఇది numeric pointer delta కాబట్టి it will only recognize creation of new documents, no change. Sir, run record కొత్త వేసుకుంది. Shall I run this job now? Sorry. ఇదేంది ఇప్పుడు ఎన్ని రికార్డ్స్ ప్రాసెస్ చేస్తుంది దాన్ని బట్టి చెప్పొచ్చు నువ్వు డెల్టానా కదా అని. ఏం జరుగుతుందన్నా ఏంది యూనిక్ కన్స్ట్రెంట్ వాలిడేషన్. నో అని పెట్టినాడు కదన్నా. అటు అనకూడదు కదన్నా. నేను డెల్టా కొత్త రికార్డులు రావాలి కదా. అసలు యూనిట్ రన్ చేసినట్లే లేదు. మళ్ళీ ఫుల్ ఎత్తుకున్నట్టు ఎత్తుకుంటాను చూడు. సో అది ఫస్ట్ ఒక్క నిమిషం. ఏదైనా YODP I'll say what is it? IP sales. So don't set query, set CDC, but if you, I don't have any field set because CDC had change data capture, it has to enable delta as a problem. But I don't have any selection. Selections unit only for VBL and so on so on equal to selections, but I don't have any selections here. And connect this to this. That's a problem. Okay, now set init load as what? Yes. Now I'm running init load again. Execute. Theoretical nodes in the kappa. Cannot load with wrong number of columns. I'm just removing those columns. How many records it is processing? 64. Job is completed. Now in HANA, you'll have the table with what? 64 records. Okay. Now you should see the queue enabled for it. Okay. Why ODP BODS Q7? If you go in, it's subsequently in DDP type and info package type. There is one request. With what? How many records? 64. ఇప్పుడు నేను కొత్త పోస్టింగ్స్ చేస్తాను 78 కదా 79 sorry okay boss. In BODs you will just go and set like init load as what? In the next init load next no means what is like normal. How many records it has to process now? The second request we has to fetch in 2 records. ఎందుకు ఎర్రర్ వచ్చింది error in the operational delta queue. అదే నా మొన్న కూడా ఓడిపితే ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది సిస్టంలో సెకండ్ రిక్వెస్ట్ రాలే మన నాకు అది ఎస్ఎల్టీ కూడా ఓడిపితే ప్రాబ్లం ఉండేది బట్ ఇంతే ఇఫ్ యూ జస్ట్ say init load as no, it start processing delta records and you'll get delta records into the table and regularly they will schedule this job to run every. This is ODP mana and ODP concept. Just ODP and any request కనిపిస్తాయి అన్నట్టు. If you get in, ఇది request 1, మళ్ళీ delta run అయితే request 2, 2 records. అన్ని you'll have the log of every request with the data. ఇప్పుడు డబుల్ క్లిక్ కొడితే మొత్తం 64 records కూడా కనిపిస్తాయి. ఒకవేళ డెల్టా పోయింటే నెక్స్ట్ ఇంకో రిక్వెస్ట్ విత్ దోస్ 2 records you could have seen. Okay, boss. Like this, you can leverage your ECC as a source. In IDOC, but IDOC we don't have to worry so much. Custom IDOCs, even if you learn with standard IDOC, they'll have custom IDOCs. Unnesting this is okay. If you can get the table and data source and load it to HANA, that's okay. So we'll just take a break and continue integrating BODs with BW. For example, ಇದು HANA ಕೇಸು ಸರ್. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಾವು I would like to extract from BW to HANA through BODS. Sorry, I would like to extract it from BW. Let's say they have already consolidated all the data into BW. From BW, they would like to put into HANA. Then I can use what? BODS. Now there's a situation like this. Say I've got BW on HANA. In a project, I've got BW on HANA. So if I just load into BW, it is as good as loading into HANA. So from external source, which I could not connect to BW directly, how will I load through what? BODS, so that the data can be consumed in the underlying HANA. So BODS ద్వారా BW కి ఎలా లోడ్ చేయాలి, BW నుంచి డేటా తిరిగి ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేసి HANA లోకి ఎలా పెట్టాలి. Two ways you can. If you see, then integration of BODS is fine with BW. So we'll just take a break and we'll see that also. I'll discuss on interviews and how to work. Don't worry. You go for a break now. Yeah?
ಇದನ್ನ ఆశ్చర్యం లేదు. ఊరికే ఇట్లానే మనం వాడతానే పాత్రం ఇట్లుంది మన అంతా తెలుగు పద్ధతులు రైతులు వేసుకున్న వాళ్ళు మనలో 3 లక్షల ఇదో అది ఇచ్చినా కదా ఎమ్మెల్యే కృష్ణారావు అదే స్క్రీన్ షాట్ ఏం లేదు
సార్కి నేను చెప్పాను స్క్రీన్ షాట్ పంపించలేదు మీరు చెక్ చేయండి 10,000
బీడబ్ల్యూ
మొత్తం అంటే అప్పుడు 22 అలా చెప్పాలి మళ్ళీ 22 మాట్లాడాలి
Company the company the candle labor 50,000. Every quarter quarterly. I'm plus అందరూ కూడా ఇస్తున్నారు కాబట్టి నాకు కావాలి 3 years more than 3 years 4 years మనకి ఇస్తున్నారు బ్యాలెన్స్ అంటే 6 years 10,000 15 7 years 20 7 అదిగా ఎర్ర అప్డేటింగ్ క్యూ అని ఎర్ర మెసేజ్ ఫార్వర్డ్ దానికోసం గూగుల్ సెర్చ్ చేసి అంటే నోట్ అప్డేట్ చేయాలి కూడా రాయాలి అంటే ఏం చేస్తుంటాము ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే పొద్దున నుంచి ఇట్లా గూగుల్ వెళ్ళి అప్డేట్ అప్డేటింగ్ నోట్ అప్డేట్ చేసి ఒకసారి మాట్లాడకపోతే ఎర్ర అప్డేటింగ్ క్లియర్ చేయాలి క్లియర్ కదా దాని రికార్డు దానికోసం లోన్ పెట్టి నాకు అనిపించింది ఇంత తర్వాత చూస్తే ఆ డబ్ల్యూబీఎల్ స్టేట్మెంట్ మార్చుకుంటే ఇంకా తర్వాత డబ్ల్యూబీఎస్ ఎలిమెంట్ పోయి నేను మార్చుకుంటే ఆర్టిఫిషియల్ కొడితే ఆయన ప్రాసెస్ ఎవరు అప్డేటింగ్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ అంటే గూగుల్లో తీసుకొని ఎవరు అప్డేటింగ్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ అంటే మానిటర్ నోట్స్ ఇస్తాను తర్వాత ప్రాసెస్ మానిటర్లో దాన్ని బట్టి దాన్ని ఎక్కడ పోతుంది అది కూడా తెలియదు దానికి ఆర్టిక్ తీసుకొస్తే ఆర్ఎస్ఐ వన్ ఓపెన్ చేసి క్యూని ప్రాసెస్ ఎప్పుడు లోడింగ్ చేస్తుంది ఏంది ఏడు ఎవరో కాదు మళ్ళీ ఫ్యామిలీ వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారు అది మరీ పలుతుంది సపోర్ట్ మోస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఫ్యూచర్ లో
Okay, boss. Okay. 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 Now we're going see, as part of BW, it has got its own ETL functionality, which it can extract data from flat file or most of the system, SAP, whatever it is. But if you face a scenario where BW is not able to extract data from some source, which is it is not able to integrate directly, then I can leverage BODS. So BODS will connect to the source, and then it connects to your BW. So from BW 7.31, you have a special source system as data services. Normally, we if it is before uh, 7.3, we used to use this Excel system connection to connect to some third-party ETL tools, like Informatica or whatever it is. And before 7.31, we use the same type of connection of Excel system to connect even to BODS also. But now, from 7.31, since we have dedicated source system type as data services, which can be leveraged to connect your BODS to BWS. So we will leverage this option. Let's say you have a BW system. If you want to relevant it to HANA, then let's say you got BW on HANA. You wanted to use normal ETL process of BW to get data into BW system. Ultimately, data is sitting in what? HANA. What you can do is you can create a DSO, load data into the DSO. The DSO active table is in what? In the backend HANA database, and that can be leveraged into HANA modeling also. Either ways can be done. So let's say your scenario is like you got BW and you got BW, and with underlying HANA as a database, you're using BODS as ETL tool, and it could be any source. Suppose if this is the case, if I'm able to connect this source directly to BW, I don't want to push data into HANA. I would like to leverage BW ETL concepts. If I'm able to connect this source directly to BW, I'll connect that as a source system and load data into DSOs or whatever it is, and then leverage those. Ultimately, those tables will be in underlying HANA, and then use them in HANA modeling. Or I can also connect this source through BODs and push data into HANA tables here and create your HANA models and consume models in BW. Either ways you can do. Okay. Now imagine I've got BW on HANA and I would like to leverage BW ETL part so that I can schedule things in the background. It's within BW, but I'm not able to integrate this source directly to BW with the help of BW source connections. Whether it is SAP, I can connect, but let's say I've got something like some XML forms or something which I'm not able to integrate into BW. Then I can leverage BODS as a middleware layer, which will connect to the source, and BODS will be connected to BW, and BODS will push data into BW, and into PSA. From there, we'll load into targets, so DSOs or cube, whatever it is. That's the point of focus. So how can BODS be integrated with BW, where BW is referred as target here, not source? Is BW target or source here? Target. Okay. That's what we're trying to focus here. One second. So want this. Gateways, your instance number is 61, so gateway is 61. Okay, boss. So how do so I go to RS7, I select this data services and say what, create. And you just say cubex7 BWDS under data BW data services. So it take me to what type of RFC connection? T indicates TCP/IP connections. Okay. And you basically specify some program ID, any string, but make sure it is in caps, very, very important. Case sensitive bus, cubex7. I've just given the program or PID cubex, program ID cubex7. And you got to give the gateway host and service. Host is nothing but your BW server name itself. The full system name, yeah. This is my host name, and the instance is If you look at this BW, my instance is 61. So gateway would be SAP GW 61, and that's how the default gateway. Okay, and this is save. Now, if you do test, it is going to fail now. There's an error, right? Because what are the program ID you have created? This is not yet been registered in BODS. Still, BODS does not know this program ID yet. So what we do is we get into BODS. Now we'll have to get into Data Service Management Console. And then get into what? Administration. SAP connections, RFC server interfaces. Now you get in, you have to configure this. You just get into this RFC interface configuration and so you got to create create a new connection. What does it ask you now? program ID. So the program ID what I specify, I'm going to register this program ID, PID Cubex 7 to log into, let's say to log into a safe, because from BODs I have to log into BW system. So my user ID would be Cubex and say what welcome 123, and the BW server name is server. But the host name of the server, just you can just give anything you want. And my client is what 001. System number is what 61. Again, my host is same, and gateway is what GW61, and say apply. And I can just start this. Make sure where is this one? Is this green here? Means it is already started. It is up and running. If not, you can just select this and say what start or stop or whatever it is. We can stop that interface also. Now, if I go to my BW and say save it and test it. Now it's pinging out. Now the connection is fine. Now say save and say back. Now you created a connection to your BODS. From BODS, which repository should I connect to? Yeah. Mine is what? See, if I say Cubex 7, you're going to control only that repository. If I just say, these are not mandatory. If I just leave it okay, I can access any job from any repository, depending on the requirement. Okay, boss? Just say create. Okay. Now I have this connection, which is my Cubex 7 BODs. Okay. What I'll do, I'll go to my BODs. Now create my data store. So I have the connection established between BODS and BW bus. Now I need to create a connection where I would say BW is my what? Cubex 7 DS BW. You want to connect to what? BW as a source or BW as target? Here I got choose it here. Okay. BW is target in, and the server is Cubex. And the client what I'm connecting is what 001. In system number is 61. So, okay, boss. ECC. Okay. Fine, boss. I've got this target. But when I expand this connection, I can only use what? Because I'm using BW as a target connection, I can only refer to data sources. Okay. So what I'll do? Program ID is just an interface, RFC like connection. Data store is a connection to BW. Okay. To access the BW components. Right click on this. Let me create a data source. I'll create data source in BW, then I'll import that into BODS. So I want to pump in those same. Other ZCL stable vadukunta data source Z BODS DS1 transaction data. You have to formulate your transfer structure. I have those fields VBLN and I already have Infobix with the name, so it is easy for me. Okay. Then say activate. So my data source is ready. So I'll go to BODS. I created data source in BW, so I'll import that here. Right click, say what? Import by name. So and to expand this transaction info source. Mandenana ZBODS idana ZBODS DS1, yes. Right click on this and say what? Import. So my data source is imported now. So let me create a job. Job GCC to BODS to BW. Inside this job, I'll have a data flow. Get in, and I'm going to use the ECC table, some table, jet sales, and this is my data source. Okay, and కొద్దిగా తేడా ఉంటుంది కాబట్టి use query transform, get that here, and get all the fields here. So this one. How do you map it first? ఎట్లా map? Is it map dot? Okay. అయినట్టేనా? One on one, na? I cannot find matching name. Either you can rename this in data source, that's fine, or okay. Even in data source in BW, can you rename them? Fields tab edit JHL. You can rename the field names also. You can do. Fine, and my job is ready, and save it. Okay. So now I would like to take this. So this, what does this job do? This will push extract data from ECC and push into my data source. From there, you just have to load into your BW. I'll take some. I'll create DSO. I have the infobix with the same name, so that's why I'm just using that. See, Datastore is a connection within the BODS repository to connect to your source. And the program ID in RFC is at the application level, okay? And connect my data source to my provider. Create transformations, Source is what? Data source. Okay, activate. I'll create info package. So you'll have something called third-party selections where you got to specify all the details. When I trigger info, what should happen first? My job should run. Job in BOD should run, which will push data into PSA. From there, I should run my DTP. So in the info page, you go to give all the details. What is my repository? Cubex7. What is my job server? I have a job server dedicated to this repository. And which job should I run? What is the job name? Cubex7 ECC. ECC to BODS BW. Okay, processing and just save. Now when I trigger this info package, it is going to trigger my job in BODS. Start. So how did I get the 66 records now into what? Into PSA. And run the DTP. This is normal. It will take data from PSA to DS. Then you just have to activate the device. That's fine. And you can see this. Get job log చూసి ఎట్లప్ప but this job is run and push the data into BW. Like this, you can use BW as target bus. Now, same way, we can also leverage BW as source. Same way. Now, let's say I have BW. And I have an HANA database. Let's say they're doing a sidecar implementation where they're just leaving with existing BW as it is and they're implementing a new HANA warehouse bus. So then what? They'll have a requirement to extract data from BW to what? HANA. In that case also I can use BODs. So from BW you extract data through BODs and you push into what? HANA database. Okay, Nana? So first let me create a Datastore connection.
My job open చేయలేదు సార్.
నేను run చేయను. చేయను. If I trigger info page, that will run the job here. ఇక్కడ run చేసినా ఒకటి ఇక్కడ run చేసి DT code కొట్టినా okay. I can do that way also if you want. I'll delete the data what is already loaded. Two ways ఉన్నాయి. ఇంకా వాటం పడితే you can create a process chain. The other flexibility you can do. ఇప్పుడు now what you can, okay, first let me show this. So first option is fine, right? You can run the info package which will trigger my job in BODs, then DTP. That is one. So what you'll do in BW, you'll create a process with info package with DTP. When you run info, it triggers job, then DTP will run. Info process, I can either run my job in my BODs, which will place data into your what? Into PSA. Ilagana, okay. Ultimately, even if you're triggering info package, you're triggering job. Yeah? Now job is run, so I should see a request in this. I see no request. I deleted and now I got request again. Now what should you do? Run the DTP. Normally in the real time, what you do? You trigger in the background So so in the BOTs, they're going to schedule the job. After the job is completed, what it has to do? We have to run the DTP. So what? Then there will be two things. There should be some job scheduled in BODs. There should be some project change scheduled in BW after the BODS job. Kada? అవునా కదా? So if that is the point, our రెండు వాడాల్సి వస్తుంది. If the previous case, what I can do, I can have a process with info package DTP, which will both are scheduled in BW leads, right? Otherwise also possible. After my BODS finishes the job, what I can do with the DTP, we can create one process chain, and after my BODS finishes the job, it can trigger the process chain also. There is an option like that. From BODS, they can trigger process chain also. That's a good option. I think. ముందు రన్ చేసే కదా తర్వాత I'll show other case. అంటే చేయొచ్చు, but we can use it when I will show it when you're using BWS source. I will show. ఇక్కడ అట్లా వాడడం అవసరం లేదు, because in BW you can create a start, info package and DTP, which will just trigger my job here. Okay. Next option, I would like to create a new project with create a job. Okay, so what a job. Okay, now I would like to take BW as a source now. I don't need that RFC connections now. I can just straight away say create new data store connection, because I can't use this data store which is referred as target. Cubex 7 DS BW source. So when you want to use it as a source, there's a different data store connection required. If you want using it as target, there's a different connection. Then what? BWS source. What is the client of BW 001 and so when I expand the source one, it will show me what objects can I leverage. I can use database tables in BW. I can use what? Open up tables and info spokes. Open up destination. You remember? Retraction. We can use it. Open up info spokes or retraction or IDOCs or function modules. Okay. Now I would like to use some table in BW. I can just use some active table. There's a name, right? YBODS. Get load చేయలేదు. Let me activate so the data comes into that active table. I'll use that active table as table. I just want to use this. No. If you're using BW as source, I don't need that program ID. Only when you're using BODS as target, okay, to BW, then I need to create those source system connection and the program ID RFCs. Okay. If you're using BW as source, we don't need those. So there is a table now. YBOD /BAC /A YBODS 00. From this table, I would like to extract. So right click and say what? Import by name /BIC /A YBODS 00. So within the job, I'll have some data flow. Inside the data flow, I'll bring out my table. and I want template table from BW tab something. Which connection? HANA, okay, and the owner is what? Cubic 7 POTS. That's a schema name. I'm using a template table. Okay, ఇది కాలం నే స్లాష్ కి ఒప్పుకోదు. I'll use what? Query transform, then get this here. Then this will connect to the table in HANA. Okay. Now in this case, I'm just running the job. There's no dependency with BW. When I run this job, it'll read data from the table, push into HANA. That's it. I don't need to execute anything else. Here I'm not leveraging any RFCs, nothing. So ZBW tab is my data with those 66. Like this, I can extract data from BW table and push into HANA. There is one nest table. Now next I would like to leverage ODP push. So ODP to open up. From this DSO again I would like to create my open up destination and use it in BODs. How to create open up destination? Open up destinations and this template I'll use DSO Y BODs. If you select this checkbox, it automatically creates transformations DTP also for you. My destination is not, is it my destination table or file? Table entry, or it creates a database table within BW and it retracts from DSO, places into table. If it's a flat file, it retracts from DSO table, places into flat file. But manakin, I want to connect it to BODS, so it's a third party tool. Which RFC destination do you want to use? You remember that connection name what we create? Now, if you want to push it again, I need my RFC and program ID, the interface between BODS and this Cubex and BW BODS, and the fields. Rename I'll change it here. And say what? Activate. So I've got my open up, right? This is my open up destination. If you see, it's already created with all what automatic transformation is created and DTP is also created. Okay, let me make you understand. Good job. Create new job. Job 05. Open up. Okay. So get it. Now I'll let use that open up as a source. What I'll do from BW source connection, I'll import that open up. YBU. My open up destination name is YBODSIMP, and I get this destination. Okay, and I can just take some template table in HANA. ZBW on hub, and I want this in Cube. And the same connection, that DS HANA connection, and column name slash megabit and this. ఏం లేవు రైట్ ఓకే. Okay boss. Now I just have to run this job. If I run this job, you get 0 records. Why? Because you're referring destination as your source, but destination is filled when where is actual data present in DS. When you run this DTP, then it extracts from the DS and loads into a destination, which can be used in BODS as source. So before I run my job in BODS, should I trigger this DTP? Yes, sir, boss. Manually, I know I can just get in and I can say execute, then I can go to BODs, but in the real time, it doesn't make sense to do it manually. It has to be scheduled automatically in the real backend. So, ఇక్కడ open up double click కొడితే I should see some properties here. ఇక్కడ చూడ open up table, you can execute, okay. Process channel లేదు కదా, ఇంకా create చేయాలి. To execute this with this DTP, I'll create one process chain. Okay. I'll go to create process chains. Sorry. ZPC BODS. Pair marks nothing. BODS ZPC BODS. What I'll do, you just want only what? I'll ask it not to suggest. This is my DTP name. You get this chain and I activate it. I'll set this as start using meta chain or API and execute this. Let this be in scheduled sheet. This will not run now. There should be some program which comes and fires it out, then this job runs. You can either manually run this chain, then go and run the job, or ultimately before running the job in BODS, which will extract from OpenUp, I must trigger this DTP. So I place the DTP in a process chain, set that as meta chain or API, because I don't want to do anything in BW. I'm trying to control my BODS to trigger my chain. This is the reverse option. So the batch job is scheduled in what? In BODS or BW? BODS say they're trying to do everything in BODS, but BODS will call the chain. Yeah. I can say now since you create process, it reflects here. Execute process chain before reading. Then automatic then related DTP a process chain pair this ZPC BODs. Now what will happen now? Okay. When I run this job, first process, it triggers process chain first before loading, and then this job will run, which will extract from the destination to. Okay. I can also see the chain log that it is being performed. Log run in a chain. This is option. So now the major scheduling was done where? In BODs. అట్లాగదు నాకు ZBW open up. I have the 66 tickets, but I'm just dropping it out. అట్లెందుకు చేయాలి? Why should I do that? Why don't I do this? Within this chain, ఈ chain లోనే after triggering DTP, can I trigger my BODS job as part of my process chain in BW? I can then major scheduling is done in where? In BW అట్లా కూడా చేయొచ్చు అన్నట్టు. I'll go here. ఇది రెండోసారి రన్ చేసిన కూడా I should say what import table because it's no more a template table and make sure this process is not executed from here. Just గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి ఏ జాబ్ రన్ చేయాలో ఏదన్నట్టు. Okay, this is the job we should run. Okay, so even from BW project chain I can trigger my job. I can even from BW in BW running DDB from here can I trigger my BODS job. Yeah? Others, yeah. ఇక్కడ ఉండాలి others. Okay. So you should find something like BODS job. Sorry, loading. Execute PSS, export What is the process here? Start job with business objects data services. Drop this. So source system Cubic 7 BODS. దాని డిపాజిట్ పెట్టలేదు ఇక్కడ మనం మాన్యువల్ చేయాలి కదా. ఈ repository was Cubic 7 job server job name open up BW2 HANA. ఇది job. Okay, and save. It's even this way it's fine. And now I'm going to execute this. ఎట్లా రన్ చేసినా I don't know, there is no data, so you should get that out. Better. DTP fail అయింది. ఏం లేదు డెల్టా కదా డేటా మార్ట్ స్టేటస్ execute again. previous request. ఏదో టీ కూడా ఉంది కదా ఆర్ఎస్ఆర్క్యూ ఆర్క్యూవా అదే ఇడా See, there is already bad request, so when we trigger it, there is a problem again. So. But you should understand the concept. There's nothing much here. Because I think this is for first time, so it is taking some time. I should delete one more also. I can repair from here. I should delete. నా జాబ్లోనే దీన్ని ఎస్ఎల్డి పనులు చేస్తున్నాను అన్నట్టు. మరి స్లో ఉందన్నా. Might be we are doing that operation for the first time, so. But I think you should get. అది ఎవరికి ఇది కాదు కదా. సర్లేదు పని చేస్తాం. నాకు ఇంత ఎందుకు చెప్పు. For now, it's not so critical. So రిక్వెస్ట్ డిలీట్ చేయాల్సిందే అన్నావు. Without deleting it is not allowed. I thought I'll put that to free. కాదు ఈ రిక్వెస్ట్లు డిలీట్ కావాలి అంటే ఈ బ్యాడ్ రిక్వెస్ట్ డిలీట్ అయితే అంతా అల్టిమేట్లీ ఇట్ టు ద సేమ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్, బట్ దట్స్ ఓకే, అదే పెద్ద ఇంపార్టెంట్. సో యూ కెన్ జస్ట్ ట్రిగ్గర్ యువర్ BODS జాబ్ ఆల్సో ఇంటూ BW ప్రాసెస్ చేంజెస్. దట్స్ ఇట్, అది పాయింట్. So this is how you can integrate BW and BODS and leverage it for HANA. And if you really have to be really strong in BODS, it's about you have to enhance your skills with this usage of your transform integration. Also, I've been just doing simple data flows with simple transform like this, but you can make these transformations more complex. This is the main platform. So case, map, merge, query, SQL. You can write your SQL also. SQL doesn't, you can do most of the transformation with writing SQL also here. And depth కావాలంటే if you just get into YouTube, SAP BODS అని కొడితే, if you look at okay, there are around 35 videos which will help you map కొన్ని operations, transformations, repository concept, history preserving, row generation. There are lot set of videos here. That should give pretty much fair idea on details of those transformations. Because this being HANA session, doesn't make sense to focus more on BODS. Just use this video. Chala clear గా ఉంటుంది. I showed you how the repertoire works in, how to log in, how to integrate these systems. Other integration will start leveraging this transformation. That becomes enough, and that's enough with BODS if you just go through these videos. ఇంకా నీకు డెప్త్ కావాలంటే కాంటాక్ట్ మీ ఆఫ్లైన్. ఓకే, ఐ టెల్ యూ హౌ. ఓకే, ఫైన్ బాస్. సో విల్ స్టాప్ విత్ హియర్, అండ్ టుమారో విల్ హావ్ టు గెట్ ఇన్ విత్ స్మార్ట్ డేటా యాక్సెస్ అండ్ స్మార్ట్ డేటా క్వాలిటీ అండ్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్. విత్ దట్ వీఆర్ డన్ విత్, విల్ బి డన్ విత్ డేటా ప్రొవిజనింగ్. దెన్ విల్ స్టార్ట్ విత్ BW powered by HANA. either ways చూస్తారు రేపు టైమింగ్ బట్టి ఓకే అయితే అది, లేకపోతే విల్ ఫినిష్ ఆఫ్, ఐల్ ట్రై స్పెండ్ టైమ్ ఆన్ రిపోర్టింగ్ ఆన్ HANA. On these views, how do we do reporting with business objects? Then we can get on to reporting. In the I want to touch reporting after BW powered by HANA so that you can leverage BigQueries and views both. So we'll go. So tomorrow we'll finish provisioning. Start with BW powered by HANA. Okay. Thanks. 6 and see all 6 and see anything, you just contact Pawan or Raju. Tell them.